Shalom Alochun. Peace to all. Greetings, one and all. My name is Doro Kostake. I'm a professor of theology and spirituality at Nisibis Assyrian Theological College, serving also as the college's academic dean and principal. In this second semester, 2026, I'll be teaching Christian Apologetics, a course unit designed for undergraduate students, and also Faith and Science, which is its replica for graduate and postgraduate students. By the way, if you don't know how to get to that information, I'll just share briefly my screen. Okay, so you go to the website of the college, of course, students, timetable. This is the undergraduate timetable, what you see now. This is the postgraduate one. Scroll down to semester 2. Yeah, you see the units that are on offer for this semester. Quite a rich offer. And this is where it is. Here it is. My Faith and Science, the graduate version of that same unit. Click the button there and you get the description. Yeah, neat. Anyway, what I would like to share with you is the fact that this exciting new course unit, it has never been offered before at Nisibis, tries to tackle, especially from the viewpoint of the Christian tradition, what we would call technically patristic tradition. In other words, the wisdom of the church fathers. Matters that are of great significance, great relevance in our day and age, especially given the fact that there are so many ideologies floating around, the so-called culture wars, and so on and so forth. The famed conflict or warfare of science and religion, and so on and so forth. And I'm certain that for many believers, not only our students, for many believers, there's a lot of confusion out there. How are we supposed to grapple as believers, theologically trained or not? How are we supposed to grapple with matters of science or technology? Does science influence in some way our view of things, our understanding of reality? To what extent this new understanding affects how we believe or how we express our faith convictions? Yeah? In other words, there's, let's call it a pastoral dimension to this topic, and to my approach to this topic, I'll give you, of course, a lot of information, and I have a pile of books next to me to show you a bit of it. My purpose is not just to keep you informed about the various ways of representing the relationship between faith and science, or science and religion. It's also a matter of doing a service to you, to believers out there, to the community, so that we can navigate better, at least to be more informed, informed in a sounder way than perhaps we are, matters of faith and science. And on this note, before I show you my books, I just want to point out the fact that I don't come to this, let's say, barbecue without preparation. I am a member of two organizations in the Antipodes, one in Australia, ISCAST, briefly Christianity and Science in Conversation, but the actual name ISCAST stands for the Institute for the Study of Christianity in an Age of Science and Technology. And I'm a fellow of this organization since 2019, I assume. Fellows here. Yeah. Lots of fellows. I don't know, where am I? Here I am. A younger version of me. Yeah. The other organization in New Zealand, it's called New Zealand Christians in Science. more specialized, if you like. By the way, I'm a member of this organization too, and it'll be my pleasure to have guest speakers during this course from both NZCIS, New Zealand Christian and Science, and Eastcast. I was promised that I'll get some input from the top persons of the two organizations. And since I'm still here on the net, this is Eastcast's academic journal, Christian Perspectives on Science and Technology, which I have the honor of co-editing. So if you go to information, editorial board, here's my name. Yeah, I edit this journal together with a colleague, the Reverend Dr. Mark Worthing. So I have a lot of experience, and I'm not coming out of the blue to teach this unit. I'll be sharing with students and auditing attendees if there's interest out there. My experience going through major books and currents and ideas in the field of science and religion, or faith and science, apologetics, or more recently, a trend that I believe suits me best is called science-engaged theology. Yeah, so it's an exciting moment for me to be able to do this service to the community by sharing my knowledge, my experience in the field. I want to show you also a few of the books that and journals that I'll be going through this semester. Let me unblur my background so that you can see something. I have classical works. Yeah, it's a classic by famous German theologian Jaroslav Pelikan. What has Athens to do with Jerusalem? This is some kind of old school faith and science, mainly talking about the beginnings of early Christian thinking about the sciences, the world that the sciences explore, and Pelikan's examples have to do with mainly Greek and Latin authors and how they interacted with ideas and trends about the scientific worldview, so to speak, of that age in late antiquity. What else? Something that is more recent, but undoubtedly of great significance for us Christians, reading Genesis after Darwin. Yeah. It's a very important edited volume, edited by Stephen Barton, who is a biblical scholar, and David Wilkinson, who is a science and religion professor. It reunites a number of contributions from across the denominational spectrum. All these contributors trying their best to see to what extent Darwinian evolution, for instance, affects our understanding of life as Christians. Yeah. There's also a patristic contribution here from Father Andrew Louth, the 6 days of creation according to the Greek fathers. Yeah, so it's reading Genesis after Darwin. So I'm not inventing the wheel. I build on the contributions of many, or as they say, standing on the shoulders of giants, indeed. My friend, Professor Peter Butenev from St. Vladimir's Orthodox Seminary in New York, wrote years ago, Beginnings, Ancient Christian Readings of the Biblical Creation Narratives. Yeah. So again, patristic insights, early Christian insights into how various scientific ideas or philosophical ideas influenced early Christians, yeah, in late antiquity. This is amazing stuff because we cannot walk blindfolded as though nothing happened before us, and as though Christians in previous centuries did not face issues the way we face issues today with culture wars and so on and so forth. Speaking of Genesis, I have two more books to show you in this area, written by my friend Andrew Brown, a Melbourne-based academic who's also a fellow of ISCAST. He wrote years ago, The Days of Creation, a history of Christian interpretation of Genesis chapters, chapter 1, verse 1, chapter 2, verse 3. This was his doctoral dissertation, and recently, last year or so, recruiting the ancients for the creation debate. So this is serious stuff. I mean, it's important for us, especially those who are into theological learning, to have an idea of what happens out there, and then by going through the existing resources to see how we can contribute in the light of the accumulated information, knowledge, how can we contribute to this, well, let's call it pastoral crisis, because many people, including or foremost young people who go to university and study in secular universities, they find all sorts of ideas, and they are exposed to the views of certain lecturers, professors, and so on and so forth, who are agnostic or atheist, and sometimes they belittle faith. And young people not being well trained to advocate for their faith might, and this is what happens in most cases, might succumb to the temptation of abandoning the faith. Yeah. So this isn't something we should treat lightly as though, well, faith is enough and so on and so forth. Well, faith is enough for believers. But how about when our younger sisters and brothers in the faith are exposed to ideas and they aren't trained by us to encounter, to discuss, to address those ideas. Now, I want to show you a few more things. So this is all this is stuff that I'll be addressing one way or the other during this second semester when I repeat apologetics and faith and science together. A book written by my friend Professor Efthymios Nikolaidis from Athens, Science and Eastern Orthodoxy. This is a historical survey of sources. By the way, there are chapters here about the Antiochian fathers and how they tackled matters of faith and science at the time in the 4th century, 5th century. By the way, Efthymios is also the editor of a prestigious journal, Almagest. Almagest is the title of a book of an astronomer, Ptolemy of Alexandria, 3rd and 2nd century. Yeah. So Almagest. Yeah. I have not contributed to any of these issues, but they are very important. For instance, look at this. The topic is creationism in Asia, Oceania, and Eastern Europe. Yeah. And so on and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Efthymios Nikolaidis was also the director of a large Templeton-funded program called Science and Orthodoxy Around the World, which had run for 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I've been a member of that research group, and it produced a number of volumes. The series is called Orthodox Christianity and Modern Science. This remains the title of all these volumes, but with specifics for each issue. For instance, this is the first volume, and I have here a study, a chapter on a 20th century Romanian theologian, Father Dumitru Stăniloae, and how he grappled with modern cosmology. What did he make of it? And by the way, he embraced modern cosmology and interpreted theologically Modern Cosmology. The second volume in that series, um, Orthodox Christianity and Modern Science, Past, Present, and Future. Also reuniting many contributions. This is where I published a chapter on the anthropology of a modern Greek theologian, Panayotis Nellas, theological anthropology today, where Nellas, a real saint, yeah, many people who knew him can say this, but also a deep theologian with background in the study of the church fathers. Um, and Nellas, it's amazing stuff. Nellas was able to interpret whatever anthropological ideas we inherited from the early Christian centuries uh, in conversation with modern ideas about, well, evolution, isn't it? Yeah. Um, it's mind blowing. There's a lot of work done out there, and well, my contribution is in that I analyzed what Nellas and Staniloae had to say about this topic. This is the third volume, Theological, Philosophical, Scientific, and Historical Aspects of the Dialogue, where I contributed another more programmatic, if you like, chapter, one description, multiple interpretations, suggesting a way out of the current impasse. Yeah, it's my proposal, more or less hypothetical, but also anchored in the tradition of the Church Fathers. My proposal as to how to bypass the culture wars and the usual kerfuffle involving creationist, evolutionist, and so on and so forth. And so on and so forth. Well, just briefly now, a few things where I published. So my first ever article in English, it's a book chapter published in 2002 or 3 or something, Science and Religion, Antagonism of Complementarity. It's about the theory of evolution and how we can interpret it from the viewpoint of the Christian theological perspective of the Logos of God, or as we say in Syriac, Miltha, the Word of God. From the same editors, Basarab Nicolescu and Magda Stavinsky, both scientists in Romania. Nicolescu also living in France most of his life. Science and Orthodoxy and Necessary Dialogue. There's no point in showing you my contributions here, but you see the science. This is where I contributed articles, transdisciplinarity in science and religion, and so on and so forth. But I'll get to more recent contributions. This is the prestigious T.N.T. Clark Handbook of Christian Theology and the Modern Sciences. Yeah, it's a serious publication. My contribution is included at page, what page it is, 81, Maximus the Confessor and John Damascene's Cosmology. So I took a Byzantine saint, Maximus the Confessor, and a saint from Syria, John of Damascus, and I looked at their cosmological ideas. So there's no whatever science or religion here, apart from, let's say, the historical perspective. More recently, still 2023 or so, yeah, I published in St. Vladimir's Theological Quarterly an article that sort of is my first go at the new trend I mentioned earlier, science-engaged theology. Patristic and neo-patristic antecedents of scientifically engaged theology. You know? Where I looked at both early Christian, therefore patristic witnesses, and more recent ones, 20th century theologians. And here are three of my books where I refer massively to matters of faith and science. The 2021 book, Humankind and the Cosmos, Early Christian Representations, where I discuss, not on any page, but In many places, I discuss how these early Christian interpreters of Genesis, especially, but also the Psalms, the book of Job, and so on and so forth, address matters of faith and science. A booklet I published together with an astrophysicist from the University of Sydney, Geraint Lewis, A New Copernican Turn, Contemporary Cosmology, the Self, Human Self, and Orthodox Science Engaged Theology, where I bring many more witnesses beyond the Orthodox tradition to which I belong in order to interpret the cosmological narrative outlined for me, for us, by Geraint Lewis, who's an expert in the field of cosmology. And finally, the book I published last year, Nature Contemplation in Clement of Alexandria, Elements of the Method. This is, again, integral to my recent attempts at working with science engaged theology, or within the framework of science engaged theology, but with a twist. I look at Clement, a second century author, was very much interested in the sciences of his time. Yeah? For example, in the astronomy of Ptolemy, which was cutting edge science at the time. Yeah? I try to show how the wisdom of these early Christian thinkers can guide us today as to how to grapple with scientific ideas without being fundamentally affected uh, in our faith convictions. Before I wrap up, just to remind you once again, um, this is in prefacing my second semester course unit, what I'll be teaching at Nisibis, Faith and Science, and its undergraduate version, Apologetics. Um, well, if there's interest out there, don't shy away, ask your questions, and come and see, taste and see. Join us at Nisibis. It'll be a pleasure to make you a part of our journey and to share our journey in faith together with you out there. Thank you very much.